Excellent. Cool. Right, let's pop that out of there, over there, out of harm's way, and then we can see what's going on. And we've got a couple of people who've come in, so that's always positive. Let's just wiggle that so that you're a bit not so skew-whiffed, because skew-whiffed isn't good, is it? There we are. Cool. Hi Anthony. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to come in. I think it's just before 5 o'clock. Oh, hang on a minute. Let me just turn that noise off. There we are. That's better. Hi Angela. Hi Avril. Hi Paula. Hi Christine. Or should that be hello again? Well, yeah, hello again works for me. It does work for me. Right. Oh dear, oh dear. My craft room is freezing. So, and on my helpful computer, I can't actually see the clock because my camera frame that holds it in place is hiding the clock, so I can't see whether it says it's actually the time. So to move around. We've got a couple of minutes to go. So hi Jill, hi Sabine, how are you? Yeah, right. Hopefully we'll warm up in a minute. This piece is not finished, I have hastened to add. It's all a bit of but laid out, but I needed to sort of know where I was going, and so that's what I did, and I've got it all prepped and I know where I'm going in my brain, which is always very good. Thank you, Avril. I just don't like to start before before it's actually 7 o'clock, because I don't think it's fair for people to do that. I mean, of course, it's all, you know, anything is possible in this world. So this is sort of where we're going. I have a Pentart show next week, which is going to feature rust and patina, including the liquid patina sets rather than the paint effect sets. But they're quite difficult to demo on a live, because actually the colour of those evolves over time. But I love them, and the effect is very, very different, and you'll have to watch the show on my Facebook page to see the differences in those products. So all good, thank you. So hi Carolyn. So I've just got a whole collection of bits and pieces here from predominantly from Sir Vagabond Aviator, but I've also got some bits from the original Sir Vagabond collection. Hi Joe, it's a long time since I've seen you live in on a live watching in this group. It's really nice to see you. Really nice to see you here. I am going to be using lots of Pentart products tonight, so we're going to start off adding some decoupage paper, some rice paper to some stone paper. But if you can't get hold of stone paper, then add it onto some paper, reasonable quality cardstock. Been absent? No, you've just been a bit busy. So literally all I'm going to do is squiggle some lots of glue onto here so this piece can dry, because horrors if Kay Hoogie, author of Hoogie Board, is watching. I'm going to do some fussy cutting at some point this evening because I didn't want to do it all beforehand. I have torn my Sir Vagabond out of an A4 rice paper set, so so that's why I've got that, and I'm just going to pop it down so I don't have it go flying around the place, because that way I can have it sorted, and we'll just push this out and seal it all in place. And the rest of my stone paper I will actually use. Hi Joan. So we're just going to have some fun with a mixed media board today, and I'm deliberately working on a piece of MDF that happened to be lying around, and I'm going to make sure I have sealed my rice paper properly down with a good coat of rice paper, because I just need to get some of these pieces done and drying, because that's just life, isn't it? You just need to do it sometimes. There we are. So that can go there. Yes, I'm being very sloppy with that, but I've got bucket loads of that stuff, so I don't need to worry. That can dunk down onto conveniently near the floor, and that can dry, and hopefully I won't put my foot on it. Hi Faith. Right, let's just move some of this gubbins out of the way, and then we can get to doing the next steps. So shuffle that out of the way. This is the rest. Oh, who's got an angry face? I hope I haven't upset someone. It wouldn't be my intention. You can see I've got an A4 board, and this is where I tore my Sir Vagabond out, and I have torn it rather than cutting it, because I just think it's easier at this point for this one, for what I want to do. Ultimately it will be fussy cut out. Now I think things are really, you're going to be unhappy in the future. I think that the next answer, I happen to have a bit of insider knowledge, so perhaps I shouldn't spill this beans, but it's nothing to, you know, my source was not Stamperia, so but the Antonis's new collection is, I think, a bit different. It's still sort of vintage, antique-y, but it's not quite going to be Sir Vagabond. There we are. Well, that's my understanding. Of course, I could have been given the wrong information, but there we are. So if you just pop rice paper onto a piece of MDF, hope that okay, fair enough. I don't like to cause upset for anyone, and I wouldn't wish to cause anyone. Good evening, Sheila. I hope you're okay. So we're just going to add, this is just some Pentart primer paste. It's a very thick gesso, but that's because I don't I'm going to pop some rice paper on the top of here, and I want to see, you know, to be able to see the true colours of the rice paper. Now I happen to know that actually I don't need it all over, which is a blessing in disguise, because the rice paper, having torn the focal image out, you've bought duplicates of it. Oh, I think I'm on I don't know which number pad, but lots of pads later. There we are. So there we are. We've got a layer of that. Oh right, there they are. It's always helpful to know where your baby wipes are, aren't you? There we are. And we'll lid that. So as I say, that was just some well used pot of primer paste from Pentart. Now let me give this a quick little dry, because I'm going to pop my rice paper, the rest of the rice paper onto it. And I thought this might be quite helpful, because we often have focal imagery on rice papers that we want to use as our focal point. And then that leaves us with scraps that we don't necessarily know what to do with. And if we do know what we want to do with them, we end up with edges that we might need to disguise. And that sometimes you don't need to stress about doing that. So a couple of reasons for picking this. Beyond just the fact that I have got a show coming up, and I have been offered a Craft Extra show. Yay! Watch this space. So I am on air next Tuesday at 2 o'clock on Craft Extra, and then at 7 o'clock on the main channel, which I think is good. And I've also been offered show dates for early February, which is good. My husband might not think so, because it's my husband's birthday. It's the 8th of February, if my memory serves me correctly. Which means I'll be away again with Craft Extra, and also for March, so it's towards the end of March, so that will be cool. So that's a step in the right direction, I think, for mixed media, because they've sort of been pushing us out a bit, I think, for other things. Hee hee. I think it is good. It is good. Right, so that's that bit on there. That's it on there. That one's drying on the floor, so I must make sure I don't now put my my feet on it, because that'll be my next trick. I know very well what I'm like. I'm very capable of putting my feet onto my nice wet mediums and products. There we are. So now let's just stick that one neatly onto the edge of there, see if we can get it lined up reasonably well. There we are. And there we are. Good. So we'll just cover you, and we'll. So, I mean, I sort of have pre-planned where I'm going. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to end up like at the end, but I do find it helpful for the lives to have a little bit of planning to know sort of where I am going, because it just makes it easier. It also, I think, makes the lives go a little bit quicker. So every last bit. Fortunately, hubby is diabetic, so cake will not be required for my lovely husband, though I have to say he does like a bit of Victoria sponge cake, so maybe we will have to. The headache with baking him a cake is he used to own a baker's shop and do the baking in it, and my baking is not quite up there. Anthony, that is very naughty. But yes, I agree with you. Planning for a live is good, and actually doing the ones that you've committed to is even better. Or at least letting people know if you've become, if you're unable to do it, rather than just not turning up. Now, ladies, there is an inside joke going on there, and I will not spill the beans for the person in question who we're talking about. But some of you, or at least I think there's at least one other person on the live who will know where that underhand comment is aimed at. There we are. We'll cover that edge over. So, there is a few. Oh, well, it happens, doesn't it? And life can get in the way, Joan, I have to say. And if you've become unwell, or the Wi-Fi in your home is messing around, then I think sometimes you just have to accept that not everything always goes to plan. And we also have to remember that actually people give up their time for free to do these, so we are dependent on the kindness of people sharing their time with everyone. Cool. Right, now then, with a bit of luck, Sir Vagabond is not completely dry, so we're just going to give this a little bit of a dry for reasons that will become clear, and then we're going to have to cut this out. So I'm sorry, but I didn't want to do this up front. How you guys always get your ideas, love that. Well, Sabine, I'm a true paper craft addict first and foremost. I then add a little bit of decoupage and good mediums and a lot of fun, and there we are. And so the madness continues. So let me just make this piece of stone paper a little bit more manageable. Otherwise we'll have it flopping every which way. The shape, fortunately, is not too complicated so that can be used for another project, as will this piece along the bottom. So as I say, it's not too impossible. to cut this out. It's reasonably simple, and it won't take me forever. Fortunately, as an ex-surgeon, I'm quite happy, and I'm not going to fiddle too much around the edge of that banner. We'll just use a little bit of creative license. That bit can go down there for use on another project. So what is everyone else up to? Are we having a good start to the new year? Have we got some crafting plans? I've cast to my big TV. Okay, I'm not too sure you really want to see me wrinkles on a big TV, but there we are. It's quite good. It's easy enough to do these makes. There we are. Now I'm going to have to move a heater away. I'll need it there for later on for drying stuff, but at the moment my foot is getting rather hot, or rather my ankle is getting rather hot. Yeah. So, yeah. So, did anyone see the Stamperia live today? Because after a good few months, they have announced their next collection. It's very pretty, completely not steampunk. Have I been a naughty girl? I'll leave you to make that decision. Anthony, you're not allowed to say anything because you already know. But yeah, it's a very pretty collection, and I have got lots of ideas of what to do with it. So that probably tells you that I've already been a naughty girl, haven't I? And it is on new release. Sabine, have you got the new paints that are arriving from Maya's Memories coming? And Joe, if you're still online, are you going to be getting them? So he's going to sort of fit there with some of the extra pieces, but that clearly leaves me with some gaps here that needs to be covered. Now I know that I'm going to have that there, so that's going to help cover some of it, but I've got areas that I need to fill in, otherwise it's going to look a hot mess. So what I have done is taken an impression mould and some of these things, and these are deluxe pastes, and I'm just going to use the ones I've conveniently got to pour that are open, rather than stress about necessarily using all of them. All of the colours I think are pretty much on the show, and I love these because they will go straight onto plastic. They will go straight, they'll peel off plastic. They're almost impossible to take off glass and metal, but they will peel out of these. So all I did was fill up my impression mould. And when you're doing this, you have to remember the colour that you put down first is going to be the colour that you can see through when it's pulled out, and you need a reasonable layer of it. So don't scrimp and scrape, or put a couple of smaller, thinner layers over it. And don't worry about them colour mixing. So let me just do this. They all separate out a little bit, and these they're slightly gritty when they're on things, and I think that's what helps with their adherence. And they are a paste, so you can use them as a paste. You can pop them in your impression molds. You can use them as you normally would through a stencil, but you can also paint with them, which that's always a positive feature, isn't it? If you've got lots and lots of different uses for these, and they're sort of mainly metallic-y colours, or they're sort of steampunky patina colours with a beautiful champagne colour, and also a really pretty pearl that works great for wintry things, and also for weddings when you might want a little touch of glamour. And I'm deliberately not worrying about this and mixing them up, partly because that I don't want a single colour on my pieces, because it makes it more usable for me if I have it all mixed in. So it literally is as simple as whack it in, fill up all the holes, stick it somewhere to dry. Now the deluxe paste, to be fair to are relatively brittle once they're dry. So I found that if you stick them on the radiator to dry, they stay quite flexible, and that helps you get them out of the mould. And you can add a little bit of heat to them to help with the she says throwing things on the floor, to help make them more soft for manipulating them long term. So that's going to go that way, where I'm not going to put my feet into it, because I don't really require to put my feet into that. Let me just clear this mess out of the way. So that can go there. That can go there. Oh, that can go that way. I've got sticky, mucky, icky hands, so that can go there. Right. Grief. Yeah. Don't like sticky, icky, mucky hands. So now on here we've got areas. So I've got some scrap bits here, and you can see that it's reasonably flexible. Yeah. It's not going, so it's not such a problem. And to be fair, it's reasonably warm in here now, so you can do quite a lot with them. So I've just taken a whole piece out of a mould, and then torn it up into fragments, so that I can then fill in some of these gaps. And that's why I basically worked out what I was going to do. Now I've got here, rather than using heavy body gel, some express glue, which I absolutely adore. So that one can go into there, and it's got quite a quick grab, which is why I like to use it on a live. And on the show is express glue, tacky glue, and their normal paper glue as well. They do not come to air very often, ladies. So he's going to go there, he's going to go there, that's going to go down there. We'll shuffle him down there a bit. That gives a better space. So on that side I've now covered all of the brown area. Let me just, one of the advantages of having popped him onto some stone paper is that I can now manipulate him so he can fit around my piece. Now I've got an ugly bit here, so I've got another piece of my A5 impression board. The A5 impression board is lovely, and you can use, but they are just A5. But sometimes it's helpful to have something that's going to go a bit further, and I've clearly got an issue there. And I've got all sorts of bits, so I wanted something up there, and I needed something there, so that can go there. That piece is going to go into there. That will sit down there, like so. And I wanted something hidden up there, so I've got sort of some areas that are broadly the same, and I've got an area here that I still know needs to be covered, and all I've done is taken a scrap of cardstock from the Aviator collection, just because it was lying around, and I'm going to pop that into here, because that's going to cover. Probably don't need quite so much, so let's just chop a piece of that down, and that will pop that there, and that will help to cover a lot of that area up, and will blend in with the background long term. So let us just pop these bits into place. There we are. Whilst we're going, that covers where I've joined the two torn edges, because I didn't like that where that was shown. stone paper is what it says on the tin. It's a special paper that's actually got stone in it. I've no idea how it's made, but I do rather like it, so that can go into there. I just find it a very useful product, but to be fair, Elaine, you could just as easily use a thick piece of card instead, rather than having to worry about it. It's not such a problem. There we are, shuffle that there, she says quite inelegantly. You just need, because the rice paper is so floppy, you know, you just need something that is going to help with it. And I'm deliberately going, I could chop that down a little bit, but hey ho, we will trim that edge nicely, because we do want a straight edge, and I think we're going to pop that so it's butted up. There we are, because I think it will work better overall. There we are. So those can go there. You're in an 8-month buy. Well, there's no point in buying stuff if you haven't used what you've got, and if it's just sitting there, because it's just a waste of money. Right, so that can sit down there. That can go and dry without me putting my foot in it. And then we've got some pieces. So these are this is like thin cardboard. It's a decorative chip from Stamperia, otherwise known as a chipboard, or tekturki if you are from Poland. I think that's how you probably say it. And I want a horrible, scrubby, nasty brush for reasons that will become clear. As I said on the show, we have rust. We have lots of rust. So I'm not going to use those pots, but I do, or not all of them, because I want to use up some of my other open pots, and I think that's more effective. So I'm going to use the paint patina set, which has a medium strength powder in it. I don't know how well this will show on there. So that's a grainy texture. That's the medium. They also have a fine, and I think the fine is really almost like talcum powder. And then they have, this is described as 3D powder, and it's really more like little balls. So there we are. That one, I think you can hear that it's different. Anyway, there will be big pots of all of those available on the show, because I think that it's impossible now to get the Finnebear art stones, and that actually we might actually all be wanting some of these, because I love the Finnebear art stones, but they have pretty much disappeared. So this is the darkest brown in the mix. It's called Earthy Brown. There we are. Where's that pot gone? There we are. And I'll pop that back in there and that back in there. You've wondered what it is when you've seen them advertised. Yeah, I've not brought them to air before, but I like them for the texture, and yeah, they act as little faux rocks on things. Joan, I need to know the name of that shop and what the name of the product is. You can send me a private message with that, because the stone paper, the big sheets of stone paper, Pentart are actually managing to withdraw. Now, I have two minds as to whether to go all rust, all patina, or a bit of both. So for the sake of this, I'm just going to pick up some of my paint. We're going to do a bit of both, because why not? Otherwise it'll become quite a brown product. So this is a no skills, easy process. Now what I would say, and just so people are aware, is if you're using like the Stamperia chipboards, is they're quite fragile. To be fair, the snip art ones are also quite fragile, because they are essentially very thin, you know, thin cardboard, or something called beer mat. And so if you are not careful, and particularly, you know, and overload them with wet product, then you will find that they fall apart on you. Now that's a look. I accept it's a look, but it may not be quite what you want. So you just need to be aware that that's the case. I'm not into difficult, complicated or messing around techniques, really. I think this is about having fun. So that's the earthy brown. We then have a reddish brown colour, which we can mix in with some of these, and this will add texture to our pieces. And I am mixing it in so that it's mixing with some of the wet paint underneath, so that I'm not getting a single colour, because that's what I wanted to do. So I'm picking up some of the texture in with my paint. That will settle it down. Now you know why I didn't choose to start out with a, you know, a nice decent brand new brush, because once you start doing and adding the powders and things into it, it's lovely on your projects, but trying to get it all out of your brushes is not quite so easy. So you know, just be aware of that when you're doing things like this, that you might not want to. These are just resin pieces from a mould that I primed with this is anyway with some gesso, some black primer paste, basically, so that I had you know, there's a limit to how much you want to see people doing stuff part way through a live. So the next colour in the mix is red clay as opposed to reddish brown, and I'm going to just scatter it around. Maybe buildings are not this colour, but hey ho, that's where we're going. And we'll pick up some more of the powders, some more of the beads, and some texture. You see how fragile this piece is, but then it is such a, you know, delicate, intricate piece. So we'll just add some of these, and they'll mix in with the colours that are on here. I'm aiming basically to cover the black, but leave some of the dark brown and some of the other colours. There we are. And the final one in the pot, that pot mix, is ochre. And I really am not too fussed about contaminating these pots, because I mix them fresh on here anyway, so it doesn't, you know, it doesn't worry me too greatly if I have mixed them up. So pick up a bit more powder, less of it important for here, but just make sure I've got all of the white of that. And I'm going to brighten this piece up a little, so you can then add as much or as little as you want, blend in your colours. Maybe don't want it quite so yellow, but that's fine. You just go back and forth until you're happy, and you've got a sort of muddy rusty effect, really. So for that one, that can go in there. Let's pop those over there. And I thought I might, just because I wanted some contrast, and because there are blues in the project, use some patina effect. And there's equally a patina paint effect and a proper patina effect, which you apply powdered metal onto your piece and then drop little drops of fluid onto them, and over time again they change into That'll do. They change and you get lots of different colourways. And whilst the paint rust effect kit I actually think is really pretty near rust, the same as the paint effect kit, the patina kit with the real patina from adding it on, adding chemicals onto the natural onto the metal pigment itself, is definitely a very different set of colours, and I love it. Aren't I being naughty because I'm not going to show you how to show it live, but it is very simple to do, and I will show it on air, possibly on extra. So again, same principle as I did with the other. I'm just going to work through my colours that come in the kit. There is a metal, an antique copper, and I'm choosing not to add any of that because I'm going to add some waxes long term, and I wanted that to be pale. So let's just leave that and get the right lid, which is always helpful. That's the correct lid for that one. That's that one. Because if I don't get these lidded with the right lids, I will have myself in a right flipping pickle long term. So, there we are. Go brown, Jill. Yeah, but brown and controlled. I know. It's not that often that you hear me, see me going brown. So let's just give these a little bit of a dry. Because we're not going to leave them quite like that, but we have got brown out. I'm really sorry, Anthony, but pink was not going to cut it on a steampunky Sir Vagabond aviator, mate. No matter how hard I tried, it's just not going to cut it. There are some times when you just have to accept that brown is the way forward. There we are. Just add. I can see, as I've dried that, I can see some areas that haven't that I haven't managed to cover. I like rust. What I don't necessarily like is brown slathered all over a project to make it all very murky. As a child, actually, or as a teenager, I really liked the earthy colours rather than the pretty colours. And it's not very often that you'll see me in choosing to wear bright pink, and definitely not pastel pinks, and most definitely not beige. That really doesn't do it for me in any way, shape or form. So, right, let us pop that there to do that with. Now then, we've got more brown coming up. I know. What was I thinking? So I have got a pot of Umbra Patina here, and much as the back of this is not going to be, hugely seen, some of it will be seen, and so I am just going to add with a brush some brown onto this, and I'm not minded if it gets onto the edges, because I can't quite like to disguise the fact that I've got this on thick stone paper. You could use an ink pad, and that's fine. This is permanent once it's dry, so just be aware of that. Whereas unless you pick up an archival or a stays on ink pad, it's not going to be a permanent product. The distress oxides certainly are not, but this will allow me to cover that and get rid of the white edge, which I don't really want showing on my project. So here we are. So it's a useful adjunct to this, and you could, it works on card, so it's not a problem. If you've if you've got card and you want to edge it, then you can do it like that. I have cut out of the paper collection a little bit a second flying implement. We're just gonna roughly go around the edges of this for the same reasons. This is double-sided, so actually it's not going to be a huge issue, but the edges where I fussy cut them are white, so I don't really want white because that's not the look I'm going for, and there's not much white on the rest of the project, so that it just helps disguise things long term. So that can go there, that can go there, and because this is my rice paper is sealed, I can see I've got a splodge of that there, and I can just lift it off the surface. And you couldn't do that if you hadn't, you know, if I hadn't used the rice paper, the glue as a sealer as well. So there we are. So that will help with that. Hopefully we might be getting there. We've got some thicker areas on this, so let us just get rid of this, and I might get rid of this mucky yucky paper in a minute because it's not very nice. There we are. And yes, it looks a mess at the moment. That's wholly intentional. It won't do by the time we have finished, I can assure you. Yeah, right. So when I've done painting onto resin pieces, I could just antique straight over the top of them, but actually, she says, squishing, I like to protect my pieces before I add antiquing stuff and then wipe everything back. So I've actually just got the pot that I've used there, but which is a Stamperia fluid gloss. But you could, if you've got it, then you, then the pouring glaze from Pentart will work just as well. That will help, equally cover and act as a varnish and sealer for your paint. And the other thing that you can use, which I think a lot of crafters will have lurking in their stash, is glossy accents. You just need something that's going to dry and protect your paint there before you add and then wipe back. I just find that if you don't add something like the varnish on the top of it, then you're at risk of lifting off your colours in areas. Now, you can work with that, you can disguise it quite happily, but for me it's just easier to cover it all first and protect it all. So I don't really want thick there, so let's just eke out this little lot. There we are. There we are, we're getting there, and that needs to have a quick dry. So as I say, I'm using this as a varnish more than anything else. Now then, I might have missed people's comments, I apologise. It's quite difficult to follow a live and see what's going on and answer all the comments. So if anyone's got any questions they want to ask me, this would be a good time to do it, because I just need to let this dry. And I know from past experience, if I try and heat it too quickly, then the fluid gloss goes a bit gloopy and white and bubbles a bit, and I don't really want it bubbling. It would add to some texture, but it's not really what I want. So let me just pop that there, because I really need this piece dry before I can do anything else. I suspect it's not quite dry in the depths. The glossy accents, pouring glaze or the fluid gloss will dry quite quickly from there. And I hate to inform you, Anthony, but guess what's coming out now? That'll be some more antiquing gel. There we are, which will, and then we can get rid of the mucky yucky paper and we'll swap to something that's halfway civilized. There we are. So we now have a very brown icky stucky mess, and this is a water-based product, so it's easy clean up. You can stick your brushes into water. It doesn't need you to have any nasty chemicals out, and it doesn't smell for weeks. Win, win and win. There we are. Let's just give that all a cover. Make sure it's covered all the edges. There we are. Cool. So what was the point, you say, in in me covering that? What am I? What was? You're not saying anything? Wow. Why not, Anthony? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? There we are. So let's just lift this all back. As I say, this is permanent once it's dry, so you don't really want this to set around too much, but it will settle in the depths, which is the look that I was going for, and it will help reveal the details of my thing. And of course you need clean bits of your thing, so it just evens out the colours a little bit and helps you see a lot more of the detail, I think, in your pieces. So there we are. We'll just, and that's why my splodgy painting doesn't matter, because actually, and you can see just how much I can wipe back, as much, you know, really wipe back quite a lot of it, but just it's going to give me some of the details in my piece back. Okay, so let us dispose of one icky, sticky, messy piece of paper. Shuffle that into there. There we are, and give you a little bit of a quick dry. There we are. And then we're going to mix it up with some waxes. I might just grab a different wax to that one. Copper, brass, bronze. Gold is what I was rather hoping for in my stash. Okie dokie. Well, let's go with that one then, which is an antique paste, but we'll use that as a wax instead. So, if you add solvent-based products to a wet surface, all you get is a horrible slurry. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to add, this is actually a copper, brass antique paste, and I'm using it as a wax. It will be permanent once it's dry, but I can wipe it back when it's not set. So there we are. So that helps to bring out a little bit of sparkle there. We've got a honey gold, so I'm going to mix my colours and add my detail by mixing some of my colours together. Now for the train, is that what yeah, it is a train, isn't it? I have some beautiful green wax to add. It's a greeny gold. It's very, very pretty. So we're just going to add some greeny gold to it, because why not? And it allows me to keep my pieces definitely. And I have a blue wax, and I'm not too sure how well this one is going to show. There we are. So we can add some colours and add some shading. We'll go for a bluebell. There we are, rather than the red one. So I've now got a little bit more detail, and I've managed to separate out my two pieces. So although it's a complex mould, and there's no hiding from that, it's, you know, it's not a, if you're going to paint it all individually, you might be there for a long time. Mixture of those gives me you know, a covering. So all I'm doing now is adding a little bit of my wax, my brass colour to my chipboard pieces, and because I've added the powders as I've painted, I don't have a smooth surface here. I've got a texture surface, and so the wax is picking up on the texture and highlighting that for me. Some of that's going to be hidden. There we are. Let's just add some of this to here. There we are. Right, let us pop this stuff away. Instant aging, now we know. Sometimes aging is right for a project, and sometimes it's absolutely not. So let us give this a goodly wriggle, because he needs to be shaped. He can't go on there completely flat, and we know that my nice is going to sit there. Excellent. We might have a little bit of disguising needed with some extra bits of paper, and that's equally cool. So let us grab some heavy body gel and a spatula. Someone did think you were only 35 the other day. Probably they needed their eyes testing then. Though perhaps that's very unkind of me. I just need to suggest that you might be older than 35. Dear me, I'm quite happy to admit that I'm 21. Several times over. But I'm definitely 21. There we are. So I'll pop that onto there. And that is going to sit there. Now, heavy body gel matte has a habit of drying opaque. So if you do what I've done here and give yourself great big globs of it, you can anticipate that you'll have white bits on your project long term. So look, it may not be what you want. So it is worth just actually picking up that excess paint. Okay. So we're going to pop you onto there. I think we might be needing some extra bits of paper around here, because I've got a piece here that I'm not happy with where I can see. So I'm going to pop onto there and lift that up, which now means I need just a little bit of this around the top edge of this to help blend it in. There we are. I'm going to have really revolting sticky hands at this rate, aren't I? I think so. What I decided to do was pop him there onto that space, so he could do with a little bit of shape into there. And for that I'm going to use good old-fashioned pin flare. Well, it's all right when you know each other, isn't it? You can be rude and know it's a... That's what... So there we are. But I'm going to use a good dollop, a good old-fashioned pin flare, because that's going to allow me to pop this up at an angle. There we are. Cool. So I rather like that, and I rather like that, and I rather like that. So now at this point we've got a number of options, because we've got quite a big gap here to you know, to put this onto, and he's obviously going to sit onto there without a problem, and he'll sit down there. So I decided I was going to pop some of that house mix there, and that piece onto there. So let's just stick that into place. The list is growing. Oops, I don't want that one. I want my express glue. There we are. And then we'll worry about where else we might need to cover stuff. She says, singing. It's always dangerous to sing on a live, even if you think it's nothing, because some nice person then ends up upset and says you've tried to plagiarise their work. So let's stop the singing. So that can go into there, onto there. It just adds a bit of detail. I think we might add that onto there. So let's, maybe we won't add that piece onto there. I have a feeling that's what I did. There we are. So we'll pop that in there. And because I've used gel medium on there, that's what's allowing me to lift that up and move it around, which is always positive, isn't it? So there we are, there we are. And now I've covered all of the bits where I had gaps, and I need to fill something there, because otherwise I will be adding about 55 tons of other stuff. And this is when a good large blob of possibly cardboard might work for you. There we are. We'll stick these onto these. These have come out of a project I've done fairly recently, but they're just going to act as a spacer for me, which I think will make my life easier. There we are. And support those up there. That's better. That's better. That's better. That's better. That's better. That's better. Oops. Maybe we don't want that one lurking in there, because I can see it over the top. There we are. So. Right, excellent. So at this point, we'll empty the rest of my pot of pin flare. Thank you, Anthony. This is my second live of the week, guys. Yeah, and then I'm having a break from social media over the weekend. Yeah. Because I'm away. There we are. Cool. Well, I might as well empty the rest of that into there. Little squidge. And this might look extravagant, but actually it's well worth having this properly supported. So that can go there. That can go there. That can go there. Let's just pop that one straight. That one straight. There we are. And we're going to cover this vagabond word, because, or we could pop that there. That would work. That will work. And the joy of the chipboard is that it's flexible, particularly when soggy with glue. So I'm going to pop welcome onto there. So lid that before we forget about it. Lid that before we forget about it. We're going to let this dry. We're going to wipe off that mess that I've got there. And if I want to, I can add extra bits from the paper pad. So I've got a space here that I'm not overly happy with, and I've got a space here. So just so that where my brain is going. So let's just take, this is from the collectibles from Sir Vagabond Aviator. So let's just take this. Because we might as well. Those of you who watch my lives on a regular basis know that I quite often fiddle with things after lives until I'm completely happy with them. Get off that. There we are. There we are. I'll put that there. I just think it needs something tucking underneath there. That's better. Let us fish the bits from that I like off here. There's not like being picky, is there? But you might as well be. There we are. Because I think it's things like these finishing touches where you add, you know, where you fill in gaps that you're not happy with, that actually make or break a project. You know, I could add a whole mountain of art stones, but actually I don't want to. So I've got a gap there, so I'm going to add that onto there. That will sit there. Get that to glue down into that gap. Now we've got 3 lots of numbers there, 2 lots of numbers there, so we're clearly going to need another one somewhere on the line. Some of these I think are too big in reality for what I want. So, but that one can be chopped up. So just because the paper says it's this does not mean that that's what you have to do, does it? Of course, you can customize things to suit yourself. There we are. Yeah. And I think one of the things that you learn the more of this type of thing that you do is that actually you're building a story, and therefore it doesn't matter. Broadway's gone. What are you like? What are you like? That just needs to be dirtied up a bit along that edge. There we are. So I've now got 3 sets of numbers along to there. I don't know. I do not know. I don't know whether I want to add more. I do not know. So let's just have a little bit of, wow, that's not helpful, is it? Go on, down you go. Sit into place. There we are. Behave, Mr. Glue, because you're normally well behaved. And actually I do like that tucked underneath there. So you're watching how my brain is working here. Very dangerous to watch how my brain works. Very dangerous indeed. But what this is doing is just filling areas, adding a little bit of interest for me, tucking stuff in. Let's just push that so it at least is vaguely up the right way. And it's amazing how many extra bits that you can add if you just have a little bit of a play with these pieces. Broadway somehow doesn't seem to be the right sentiment for that piece. And I do like that up there. So let's just pop that under there. Pop that up to there. I'm going to come across the N. Lorraine, it doesn't matter, darling. They're all saved in the group, so you can watch them back whenever you want to, whenever you've got the time. Yeah, we just can't do everything, can we? I'm just appreciative of the fact that anyone is happy to spend some madness time with me, watching me create, and my very dangerous brain in action. So there we are. So I've now got 5 areas of numbers. Do I want to tuck that under there? Yes, I do want to tuck that under there. You can see how I'm using all of the different little bits, the pieces, the paper that I've got lurking around, just to fill in, which is why crafters never get rid of anything, do we? There we are. And that won't wipe off there very well because I haven't sealed that paper. And that's equally fine. There we are. So let's just pop that in there, let that dry. So ladies, that is our project for tonight. I will photograph it, and over the next few days I no doubt it'll appear as soon as I get some decent weather for photographing. Has to be tonight or tomorrow. So the black stuff is actually umbre, and I've used it to edge the white on the paper so that I don't see the white, in the same way as I did with my Sir Vagabond. I didn't really want white edges showing. And why did I glue that there? I just felt there was a space there that needed something going into it, and that's something that you learn with time, and you work out what suits your eye, Elaine. So that's why I added that. So here is our Sir Vagabond aviator piece with patinas, with antiquing gels, and with lots of waxes. So I hope that we've all enjoyed that. Remember, I have shows on Craft Extra and on the main channel on the 17th. I will post those times on my pages, and I look forward to seeing us in the next live. I have got them penciled in with Charmaine. I can't for the life of remember when they're for though. So there we are. There is our project, and I can see some bits of I can actually see bare board underneath there, so I might stick a piece of that under there because I'm a finickety monkey. I don't like seeing bare board. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just anchor Sir Vagabond down. There we are. And you're not going to look at it too closely from the side. No, it's going to irritate me. I'm going to have to add a piece of board paper underneath there. So sorry ladies. There we are. Because if I don't, it will irritate me hugely. There we are. That's better. So that piece is just literally disguising the back of the board that I didn't cover when I was first doing it. There we are. So one project, and that seriously is it now for the night. So take care everyone. I'm going to end the live, and look after yourselves.